under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda approval tonight. I do have a couple of changes. I have a correction, and that correction will be on 4.4, number 2. David correction for Julia Postola has completed her 1,040-hour probation period, is now eligible for supplementary benefits effective 9/1/2022. That's a correction on that. Also on 8.2, under departmental items, consider agreement with the South Dakota State Fair for storm sewer improvements and approve state fair payments for the deck storm sewer project. That will be an addition of 8.2. Does anyone else have any more corrections or deletions or additions for the?
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
Motion by Smith to approve the agenda amended. Need a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Weinrich. Need a roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinreich.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Gurton.
Aye. Okay. Moving on. Public forum comments may be sent to the live meeting broadcast on the city's YouTube channel. The link is listed on the city's website at www.HuronSD.government. Click on Government and then City Commission. In order to use the YouTube chat feature, please create an account with your YouTube and Gmail or use your existing accounts. Please state your name and address for the record. Public forum is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes per person. Our HR director is sitting on the computer in the back of the room to take any questions that you may have, and he will forward them to us, and we will try to answer them tonight the best we can. Has anybody got anything for public forum tonight? I'll remind you, again, it's time to start cleaning up our city. The state fair will be upon us quicker than we can believe, so let's all get started doing something like that to make our city look more presentable. So, okay, now moving on to the consent agenda. Matters appearing on the consent agenda are expected to be non-controversial and will be acted upon by the commission at one time, without discussion unless a member of the commission requests an opportunity to address any given item. Items removed from the consent agenda will be discussed at the beginning of the formal items. Tonight's consent agenda consists of 4.1 minutes of August 8th City Commission meeting, 4.2 fuel quotes for city departments, 4.3 appointment of Zach Olson to the Employee Safety Committee, 4.4 recommend hiring Carter Brotherton for a waste sewer uncertified position. And number 2, as I stated earlier, the correction for Julie Potola has completed her 1,040-hour probation period and is now eligible for supplementary benefits effective 9/1/2022. 4.5, payment of the bills. A motion to approve.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Robish, motion to approve. Need a second.
Second.
Mr. Bragg, second. Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinreich.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Gurton.
Aye. Okay. Moving on to petitions and communications, 6.1, consider fixed-based operator reimbursement request by Greater Huron Development Corporation. I see we have the president of the corporation, Ted Hayter, with us tonight. Would you like to come up and answer any questions that we, the commission, may have, and any statement you'd like to make?
Thank you, Mayor. About a year ago, the FBO was in the process of being sold from the current owner out of New York, New Jersey, to a new owner based out of Indiana. Negotiations between the two fell apart, and Greater Huron was able to step in the meantime to save, pardon me, to save the deal and acquire from the previous owner, who was Flyjet Center, and sell to the new owner, who is Carver Aero, doing business as Rev Aviation at the airport today. A deal that was supposed to take a few weeks, maybe a couple months, turned into a 10-month deal. In the meantime, in September, end of August last year, Greater Huron took over the responsibility of maintaining that business, paying the bills, and keeping the employees on staff. So that when the new owner came in to take over operations, they had staff in place and we didn't have to start from zero. So in the 10 months that we operated the business, we didn't have certain operations that the new owner is going to be able to do at the airport. And we operated over a 10-month period at a loss of $125,000 approximately. The total amount being $125,291.19 according to our profit and loss statement for the business in that time. So that is what we are here requesting reimbursement for in the time being. I'd be happy to take any questions.
So one of the things Ted and I visited with, and then I visited with the mayor and my commissioner, we talked about, like Ted said, we didn't figure the timeline would be that long and that the loss would be that high. So we kind of did recommend approving this and paying it out of general fund dollars for the reserves.
And just to add a little bit more to the story, I guess, Larry Cooper and I went out and saw Greater Huron, because this kind of fell into Larry Cooper, our airport manager's lap, and he said, we got to do something. And so we decided we'd swing through Greater Huron and lay it on the table for them. And like Ted said, we all thought maybe a month to 6 weeks. And so they graciously accepted it, took it on, and through legal situations out in New York City with the bank and other owners, stuff, it got dragged out. And so that's kind of where we're at. And I told our financial director that I think it's only fair that we pay this amount to make it clear with Greater Huron, because we're the ones that suggested it, we're the ones that wanted to move on with it, and I think it's going to be a great opportunity for Huron. So I'm so glad that it came our way and we got to work out. So Ted, I really do appreciate that. Any more questions for Ted?
Just a quick question. So
Sure.
You guys knew going into it you were gonna operate at a loss? Or you didn't know
That
at the
was
time?
our assumption. It's basically the revenues out there would have been maintenance of aircraft, fuel sales, and some hangar rent. We were not going to have the opportunity to do maintenance because that employee was working somewhere else for a while. So we knew we lost a revenue stream there. Fuel sales, especially in the winter months at an FBO or a fixed-based operator like Huron's, are mostly private takeoffs and landings. Well, if you are at the golf course or around the Huron Airport right now, there's a constant stream of takeoffs and landings associated with ag-related things. There's some private comings and goings of aircraft at the hospital, private operators, business people coming in and out. Those are quite a bit lower in the winter months than they are in the summer. So we knew we would lose a bit, but it was a business that needs to keep going in Huron because of the type of people it brings in and out of the community. And the decision makers for large businesses that we don't have, that aren't owned locally, that are somewhere else. So it was definitely worth doing. And this new company coming in is looking at doing some pretty major things related to the airport here. It will also be a benefit to the community.
Yeah, Commissioner Rogers.
So basically, we're just reimbursing for the last 10 months worth of wages.
Expenditures. It's not just wages, yeah.
Right, our expenditures would include insurance of the buildings and property out there, the employees, workman's comp is out there, we had utility bills,
Yeah.
sale, yeah. Everything you would have associated with the operation of most businesses,
Okay, thank you.
yes.
Do we have a motion?
Mayor, I'd move to approve the transfer to Greater Huron.
Okay, Commissioner Smith makes a motion. Need a second on that motion?
I would second the motion.
Have a second. Roll call vote, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Weinreich,
Aye.
Craig,
I'll abstain.
Robish,
Aye.
and Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Pass. Thanks, Ted, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ordinance and resolutions, 7.1. This is a resolution number 2022-11 nominating the financial director to serve as an additional 2 years on the South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance Board of Directors. This is a position, 2022-11 position, SDPA board. This is something that our financial director, Paul Carey, just has been on it about 6 months, and an opportunity for her to expand it to another 2 years is something we feel is benefit to our city. She gains a lot of knowledge that she brings back to us each meeting. She comes back, she has something new for us to look at and to study. So I think it's very beneficial to have a motion on this item.
Motion to approve 7.1.
Commissioner Weimer's motion to approve. Have a second.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Smith. Any questions for our financial director on this item?
And explain, it's actually once you have filled the term, now you have to come up for election. For the remainder of the 3-year term, there's 2 years left.
Any other questions for? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Weinreich,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Okay. Departmental items, 8.1. This is one I'm going to have our airport manager come up and I'll read it since you don't have it, Larry.
Pardon?
I'll read it since you don't have it, and then they can ask you questions. 8.1, consider agreement with the Department of Transportation, Office of Air, Rail, and Transit, project number 3-46-002-042-2022 for Phase 2 of runway construction at the Huron Regional Airport. Authorize the mayor to sign.
Okay, Phase 2 of our 42 project will be the culmination of our conversion of the airport to LED. We are now the first airport in the state of South Dakota to be all LED. We're the 5th airport in the nation to have all LED signs. That's quite a record right now, just in that regard alone. But the one thing that's left is everything that's been added, the new signs, new taxiway lights, new crossway and runway lights, and last year in Phase 1, we added new main runway lights that are all LED. And the only thing that wasn't done was for the main runway, we never replaced the wiring at that time. We had 2 major shorts over last winter that required us to run wiring over the top of the ground to keep our runway lights in operation. And because of that, we went to FAA and says, we have to replace this wiring and it's not gonna hold up. We can't go through another winter with movement and so forth. So what we're doing with this project now is adding interduct for the length of the runway on both sides. We also ran interduct to our new PAPIs and our new runway end identifier lights, and we pull new wiring into the main runway to light that up, as well as the home run going into the vault. We make that out, it's still good. So by the time we're done, pretty much everything out there will be within the last 3 years brand new. We've already seen the savings from the LED lights on the taxiway and the crosswind runway. It's going to be significant for the main runway because those lights are the highest voltage draws and amperage draws on the airport. So this agreement is standard with all of our grants, and it's for the state to get an agreement with the city to provide their match to this project. As you know, all of our projects are 90% federal money, 5% state, and 5% local. So our match to this is, I don't remember off the top of my head, 25,000, something like that.
19.5.
So the agreement with the state is, like I say, it's a common thing, every grant, we have to do this agreement with the state, so. Any questions?
Okay, motion to approve this.
I would move to approve the expenditure.
Commissioner Brand moves to approve, need a second?
Second?
Second, Commissioner Smith. Now, any questions for Larry on this item?
Well, in light of me, in light of taking over the FBO for a period of time and this kind of following that as an improvement to the airport, I think it's good timing. Having a new FBO
It really is.
operator.
Part of the reason they wanted to come into this airport was because of the quality of the facility. The pavements are all been new since about 2000, with the lighting that's improvement. This is a premier airport for the state of South Dakota. It's probably easy to say the third best airport in the state, and the only reason we're third best is because our runway isn't as long as Rapid City or Sioux Falls, but it's the third longest runway in the state. Consequently, for Rev to come in now at this time, and with the plans that they have for the future at the airport, it's going to make the airport outstanding for the state, as well as the benefits that are coming to the city as well. So, yeah, it was very fortunate.
Any more questions for Larry? Seeing none, roll call vote, please. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
Roll call vote,
Smith.
please.
Aye.
Weinreich?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
Robish? Mayor Harrington?
Aye. That passed, okay. All right, now we're going to go into our work session.
We gotta do 8.2,
Can I do what?
what we added on to the agenda,
Oh,
agreement in the thing.
8-2.
8.2.
Okay, now we got it. Okay, we're gonna do 8.2, consider the agreement with the South Dakota State Fair for storm sewer improvements and approved state fair payments for the deck storm sewer project. And we have our city engineer here tonight, Brett, to explain this to us. You could.
Yeah, well, first of all, I guess I'll discuss the agreement. So, just a little background on this. You remember when the Dex building was being proposed and design was occurring on that, we become aware that where they wanted to expand that Dex building was over top of an existing 54-inch storm sewer pipe. So, in conjunction with the state fair, the city worked to relocate that pipe and replace it. It was a corrugated metal pipe, so its life was limited anyways. So it was something that we needed to look at doing. So but with the understanding that we could apply for ARPA grants that we should cover for most of that work, right, or all of it at the time. And so this agreement basically puts that in writing in the end. We were awarded through the state and the ARPA grant through the Board of Water and Natural Resources. We were awarded $720,000 of grant money, which is intended to cover all of the cost of the storm sewer relocation. And this agreement is with the state fair to pay for our portion of that, because that grant is being funneled through the city. So basically, the work gets done, the contractor's working for the state fair or the Office of State Engineer, and then they give us our portion of the pay request, which is associated with this storm sewer, and then we reimburse the contractor. Actually, in this case, they want us to pay the contractor directly. I could read through it, I don't know if that's appropriate, or, okay. Because this is something that wasn't on the agenda, maybe I will read through it. The reason why it was added to the agenda last year is that it's kind of a hot topic. The city's actually received a phone call from Secretary Hunter Roberts, just anxious to want to get this agreement in place and get payment made so that we're not holding up additional payment to the contractor. So the agreement, it'd be this agreement made, it'd be today, the 15th of August, between South Dakota State Fair and the City of Huron regarding reimbursement to the State Fair from the city for storm sewer improvements in conjunction with the construction of the State Fair Decks project. And basically, whereas, I'll just go to the end of the summary. It's whereas in June 2022, the city was awarded an American Rescue Plan Act grant from the Board of Water and Natural Resources for storm sewer improvements in conjunction with the construction of the State Fair Decks project. Now, therefore, in consideration of the mutual compromise and covenants herein, it is agreed and understood by and between the parties as follows. The city agrees to pay the value of storm sewer work in conjunction with the decks construction up to a maximum of $720,000 direct payment to Henry Carlson Construction Company. And that was one thing, is we wanted to set that maximum payment at $720,000. If there ends up being additional cost, those would be mutually agreed upon type deal, and it'd have to be an amendment or something to this agreement. Also, the state, South Dakota shall review and approve payment for work, provide the city with the pay request. Payment will be made directly to Henry Carlson Construction LLC within 30 days of request for monies from the grant funds. If the city does not make payment request to Henry Carlson Construction LLC by the 30-day requirement in Section 2, the city shall be responsible for any late fees, penalties, or interest assessed caused by the city. And that's why we're moving this onto the agenda, is because this current payment is outstanding at the moment, not due to city deals, just due to the situation. And the State Fair agrees to provide the city reasonable access and accommodation to storm sewer design plans, construction site to ensure the storm sewer construction is compliant with city design standards. And the State Fair agrees to provide a 30-foot utility easement centered over the storm sewer improvements with the construction of the State Fair decks. The city will prepare the easement documents once said project is finished. So that is the agreement, basically. We are recommending approval and asking for the mayor approval to sign that. With approval of that, there is also a pay request that's pending on it. And this first one is pretty minor. I have a memo that explains it, but basically we're paying our share of the storm sewer work, and our share out of this pay request is $1,397.46. So it's pretty minor, but we're getting the agreement set up, we're making the payment. The next one will be much larger coming through. But again, I want to remind the commission that all intention is that storm sewer work should stay within the $720,000 maximum that was awarded to the city from our grant. So.
You need a motion?
A motion to approve the request, the agreement.
Commissioner Roberts, motion is approved. Need a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Weinrich. Any questions for Brett or Liz?
So then what is our expected share of the payment, all in?
They will max it out to the 720.
So,
They, 720,000. They want to use all of that grant money for the project.
but so what's our share of that is?
We got,
Nothing, it's
Oh,
100 we got 100% ARPA funds for that project.
Yes, I'm sorry, I
It's a
misunderstood.
pass-through
It's not a
rate for us
match.
to
Okay,
state
so the
fair.
1397 is just a pass.
It's just a portion of the 720.
It's a pass-through. We will pay Henry Carlson, we will go back to the state
Allow for
and get
reimbursement.
reimbursement from the ARPA grant, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Do we need to have every draw then presented to us, or is this taking care of that?
I would think we would bring every draw to you guys, like a normal pay request.
Like any other construction
Yes,
project?
that would be my intent, I guess.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we kind of talked about keeping it all so you can see it, so you guys know too.
Any other questions for Brett on this item?
real quick
Yes,
question,
sure.
Mayor. When does the easement come into play? So we're working on that now, after this has been, if this is approved and signed, that'll go into place after this.
So the construction is occurring on the project still, so we would stay out of the way of while that's occurring. We actually haven't budgeted to do easements on all the city utilities across the state fairgrounds next year. So the easement will be prepared next year as part of that budgeted agreement that we have set up at this point, but we're waiting for commission approval on the budget.
Any other questions? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Wainwright.
Aye.
Craig.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye.